So I just want to record something short about a really simple insight or understanding of what's at the root of your symptoms and your suffering and your chronic illness and chronic fatigue. Understanding this is so key to healing, right? Once you get this, it makes healing so simple. And I'm going to pause because there's people running past me on the trail, but I'll tell you what it is soon. Okay, thank you for waiting. There you can see the people behind me, so I wasn't lying. It is, you guessed it, resistance, right? Understanding that resistance is at the root of maybe not what's causing your symptoms, in a sense it might be, but what's perpetuating them, right? The more that you push against what you're experiencing, fight against it, the emotions that it's triggering, the thoughts that might be coming with it, the more it's going to make you suffer, right? It's incredibly simple, but you might have to work through a lot. Okay, so just because it's a very simple insight, there's so many layers to resistance. It's so sneaky and subtle, right? The more you start to understand resistance, the more you're going to see how resistance plays out in so many different ways in your experience. But it's always a good fundamental, even if you know this already, it's a good fundamental reminder to come back to that the key thought is usually this thought saying, what is in my experience should not be here. What I'm dealing with should not be happening. This emotion should not be here. This thought should not be here. This sensation should not be here. That's all resistance. Even kind of more subtle forms that it can come out in is how much longer am I going to have to deal with this? That's resistance. I'm feeling this emotion, but it won't release. That's resistance. And these are the sneaky ones that people generally don't see. Or I'll meditate, or I'll be with what is, and it doesn't change. It doesn't go away. That's just more subtle forms of resistance. Now, to see resistance is not a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing. The more that you see that you are resisting your experience, the more that you become aware of it, and that's how it gets released. It gets released through you seeing resistance playing out in your experience. So it's not a bad thing, but you want to become aware of it, right? It's a bad thing. Like, it doesn't feel quite right to say that, but if we wanted to label it that, when it's completely unconsciously playing out in our experience, and we completely believe the story of resistance, then you could say it's a bad thing because you're not aware of what's happening. So then what's going to happen is you're just going to suffer more and more and more until somehow or another, fuck, I keep falling over, you come to the realization of resistance. That's often what needs to happen, is some way or another, your physical experience might force you to come to these insights about resistance, where there's nothing that you can do anymore but stop resisting. Like, you can become so stuck and so physically disabled, maybe by your chronic fatigue or your chronic pain or whatever your chronic illness is, or whatever it might be, depression, anxiety, ADHD, OCD, right? All of these things. Resistance will get so strong because it's playing out unconsciously in your experience until it forces you to stop, and there's nothing you can do anymore but stop resisting. And then you can start to see resistance in more and more subtle ways. Right? Okay, I want to accept what's here. And by being willing to accept, you're going to see resistance more. So it doesn't mean you suck at accepting. Maybe you do a little bit, but that's okay. We all do, initially, because we resist so much. So, look how beautiful the mountain is. But as soon as you're willing to start accepting and allowing, I actually like the word allowing more than accepting, because it has this feeling of this can be here. It's not just like I'm forcing myself to accept what I don't want to feel. It's this is allowed to be here. This thought is allowed to be here. This emotion is allowed to be here. This physical symptom is allowed to be here. When you start doing this, you hear about somebody talking about it, you're going to see more resistance, because you're going to see what's stopping you from allowing. Right? As soon as you're willing to allow, you're going to see all of this resistance. But it's good because it was all unconscious. It was all already there, playing out in your experience, making your life shit. Now, the more you see it, just by becoming aware of it, it stops having this control over you. It stops driving the show from the background. You don't actually need to fix it. You don't need to get rid of it. You need to see it, and you need to feel into what does it feel like to be with this experience without doing anything about it. All right, this can be an aspect of your healing. And then, you can start to put yourself into situations that are going to trigger resistance. Put yourself into situations where you can see it, right? This is the other side of healing. It's not just about sitting in your room for the rest of your life. It's about getting out into spaces that you're afraid of, slowly, so you don't overwhelm yourself. But where you're going to see resistance again, right? So you develop this mix. You give yourself space where you practice this accepting and this allowing, which is going to give you the awareness that you need to unravel resistance, basically. It's going to give you the clarity to see what you couldn't see previously. And then you need to put yourself in spaces, again, slowly, gently, trust your intuition, and build yourself up. But put yourself in spaces where you will reveal layers and layers and layers of resistance. And then you'll see it in other people, you'll see it in yourself, you'll see it in parts of yourself from your past that you didn't realize were there. You'll see it playing out in all different ways. And it can be incredibly, it can almost be, what's the word? Like, it can feel disempowering, or it can feel overwhelming to see how much resistance there may be in your system. But it was all already there. Now that you're seeing it, you're on the right path, you're going in the right direction, things are getting better. So don't be disillusioned, maybe that's the word I was thinking of. Don't be completely put off by how much resistance you see, or people pleasing, or like all of this stuff. We're going to start to see what was driving the show in our unconscious. So it's okay if you see all of that. It's part of the process. You just need to see it. You don't need to fix it, and you will keep making progress. The more that you say, I'm willing to see what I'm keeping hidden. I'm willing to feel what I don't want to feel. I'm willing to be with what I've been running from. You have to start there. And again, then you're going to see it's all going to come to you. Or you'll go out in life and it will be revealed. But it has to start with that willingness. And then the rest will unfold in different ways for different people. But yeah, that is a video about resistance and healing. Good luck.